welcome to episode 23 of the Bulls REKAP Podcast. Episode 23, the number 23, it can only be one podcast. This is the LeBron James Podcast. So I am Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times. You can obviously read me in the sports section of the Sun-Times, Bulls beat writer, NBA writer. You could follow me on X at @JCowleyHoops. And we're going to look, this is where it all started with these two fellas in episode 1, where we introduced this thing. So now that the Bulls season is over, let's bring him back in. My guy, Ryan, the crime dog, and then Catman himself, the godfather of this, looking like he's headed to the White Lotus, while Ryan and I look like we're about to jump out of the stands at U.S. Cellular and attack a third base coach.
Yep, the Legue boys.
Exactly, the new Legues.
Yeah, you do look like you're auditioning for season, was it 4?
See, it would be season 4.
This is my jacket for the Kentucky Derby next week.
You need brighter colors.
And I wore it on Channel 7 this morning.
You need a brighter jacket. I need to help adjust you for the
big hat, a big like.
I got the hat.
Oh, okay.
I went to Sid's hat shop the other day on Roosevelt Road. Got the fedora. I'm ready to go.
All right.
Nice.
At least you got the hat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get right to this. This was as bad a week or to 10 days for the Bulls front office as I can recall. This makes Gar Pax seem this is the rock bottom so far of Bulls front offices since I've been covering this team. First, the obvious thing, and I've been a big Billy Donovan supporter. I still believe Billy Donovan is the right guy for the job, but we'll start there. You saw the difference between elite coach in Spoelstra, who I consider in that elite group, and a top-tier second coach in Billy Donovan. I thought Eric Spoelstra, and I heard from one of their writers, their practices leading up to the Bulls game, the play-in game, was right out of Hoosiers. Blood, sweat, and tears for 4 days. Meanwhile, the Bulls were watching film, chilling, easing guys into it. And that's kind of how the first quarter played out. You saw a team come out looking for blood and another one looking for a pamphlet for Cancun.
Yeah, look, I love Billy. I've known Billy since 1992.
Right.
If I was an owner, he'd be a guy that I would absolutely want coaching my basketball team. Eric Spoelstra, too. My problem is I seriously believe that this is the worst front office in the history of Chicago sports. Like, the Cubs hired the guy running the concession company, Salty Saltwell. They were smart enough to fire his ass a year later. Hawk Harrelson was a great announcer, pathetic GM. They got rid of him in a year. We keep extending these two dudes. Mark Eversley's like an AI creation. I've never heard the guy. Like, I don't know if he really exists. And Arturas is the worst executive in the history of Chicago sports.
Back to the plan. Well, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
No, Ryan, go ahead. What I was going to say is I look like we did the press conference.
Yeah.
And I tried telling Arturas, your plan goes against the recent history of the league.
Yep.
So
I think you didn't try, by the way. You did tell him. You did tell him.
I mean, I'm trying every way to point out how far he's going the other way. So I did a thing today. I kind of just ran down. You know, they feel like 15-5 to finish the year. Obviously, he said the Miami game was horrific, but 15-5 was good. And I'm actually watching this first round of the playoffs, and now I'm even more convinced that they're going the opposite way that they need to be going. Forget the fact that they don't know how to land that dude, which I've been preaching for 2 years with this team. They don't until you have that dude at the playoffs. But here's the thing that's concerning. Okay, the one positive was what Billy did in fixing the 3-point shot, going from 26th to 3rd. I mean, that's astounding that he did that. What I really liked, and when you look at their corner threes, they finished 10.8 per game, which was like in the same area as like 5th or 6th with the Cavs and Warriors, which are very efficient offenses. So it shows me that not only is Billy flipped what they need to be doing with the modern NBA, but he's generating the best threes possible. Kudos to Billy for doing that. Here's where I have a problem. This pace of play thing that we all kind of fell in love with, it's nice, but you look at the top 5 pace of play teams, 4 of them are lottery teams, including the Bulls. Number 1 is Memphis, whose ass has been embarrassed on a nightly basis. The best team that's top in pace of play is OKC at number 6, but their pace of play is based on the turnovers that they generate and the way they flip you over. That's their pace. So this idea of pace of play, that just covers up how flawed you are. And guess what? When you watch these playoffs, it doesn't mean shit in these playoffs how fast you run, how fast your pace of play is. These playoffs, I don't know what's going on. If there's a mandate from this has been WWE stuff on a nightly basis. I love it because it's a throwback to the basketball I like. Yeah. But if the Bulls think they're going in the right direction, maybe for the regular season, it will fool a lot of people and get them 45 wins. But come playoff time, they are going to be exposed even just as badly as they were against Miami.
Yeah, there's a lot here. Like, I'm with you on the playoffs. Like, I love seeing 95-85 final. Yeah. Like that's really good stuff. But back to the plan, because I have an apology to issue here on the Bulls Recap Podcast. I fell for the shit. I did. I told you that. You know what? When you and I did the live podcast a couple of weeks ago, I was like, at least this play-in's different because there's pieces that are more likable than like the broken machine of the last 2 years. It wasn't different. It wasn't different at all. It was the same old BS that you were warning people about the final month plus of the season. And I was like, well, maybe it'll be fun to watch Josh Giddey and Kobe playing the play-in because my ass. There was nothing fun about it. They bottled Kobe up and spit him out. And the problem, I watched every second of that game. Spoelstra by far.
Sorry to have to hear you did that.
Spoelstra was by far the best coach on the floor.
Right.
Do you think the Bulls were the more talented roster?
I think the Bulls are the more talented roster offensively with what they can do, but that's not what these playing games are about. These are about will.
So if Spoelstra coached the Bulls, if I told you Spoelstra was coaching the Bulls and Billy had Miami, who wins that game?
Well, see, here's the problem. The main thing, again, I asked Billy about after that game. Miami's got an all-star in Tyler Hero, and that was the best dude on the court.
I still think Miami wins the game if you flip the coaches.
Because I just think Tyler Hero gets it, and he came in and he just said, Josh Giddey, I'm going right by you. Kobe, I'm going right by you. I mean, they just exposed every word.
Oh, my God. He had unfettered access to the rim whenever he wanted it.
They punched the Bulls. They punched them right in the mouth, right out of the gate. And the Bulls, looked around as the game was going on.
What's going on here?
Is this allowed? You can do that? You can get punched in the mouth and no one's going to say anything? And it felt like we were watching it from the onset, from the tip, that different level right here. This is a different level, and the Bulls can't play at it. They don't have the guys to. They don't have the staff to. Maybe I'm wrong on the staff. They don't have the organization to play in these type of games. Even if it's a playing game, they don't have it. It's broken.
And to really show how broken it is, the man that's in charge of this would rather have gone through all these good feelings just to be exposed in a game like this than try dipping into the lottery and hopefully getting your foot in the top 4 and getting a game changer.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
He felt that was more important. That shit night of basketball was more important than the big picture of grabbing a top 4
Explain
talent.
that. It makes literally no sense.
I cannot explain it because as many times as I've asked Arturis about it, he thinks competitive integrity is the foundation piece for any organization, despite the fact that the Denver organization that he left couldn't get over the hump until they brought in the ultimate Robin, at least for their situation, in Aaron Gordon, who was a number 4 overall draft pick.
Yeah.
So
I can't believe he doesn't see. I'm still baffled that he got in front of a microphone and asked fans for patience.
He's the ultimate
It's insanity to me. It's literally insanity to me that he, after 5 years, can sit there when people are there's apathy. Stop talking about attendance and in jersey sales. They're going to live off Michael Jordan long after all of us are gone, because that's just the way it's going to be. But there are more Bulls fans now, our sons included, going forward, that never watched Michael Jordan dribble a basketball except for YouTube, and they know him more for his shoes and apparel than anything else. And that's going to be the case going forward. It's still going to be the case why people come to the United Center. And if that's what you want, then fine. Parade your ass out there every year to go 39-43 and not be a real team, because it's insane to me that you can ask fans in this city, in this market, to be patient.
I ask for patience.
And then there's the people like, well, fans need to boycott. My ass. You know what fans need? Fans need an outlet. This entire town should be boycotting then, because the entire town sucks. From the Bears to the White Sox to the Cubs to the Blackhawks to the Bulls. There's not been a lot of reward here. They're one-offs. The banners that hang in this town are one-off situations where, man, that was a blast. You know, we are further removed from the Blackhawks dynasty year. We're 20 years from the White Sox. We're almost 10 from the Cubs. We're 15 from the Blackhawks. Dude, you know what that is? That's generations. Those are kids being born that don't have any effing clue what a championship team is. And you're asking for patience? My ass.
Here's my concern.
That's why I agree.
This is a fan base that is so removed from those championships, they don't mind buying hope. Every team is buying hope.
Hope and faith is all we have in Chicago.
Caleb Williams. Oh my gosh, look how close we are. The Cubs. Okay, at the beginning of the year, I'm like, after that Dodgers series, I'm like, okay, this is going to be another fraudulent team exposed.
They still haven't won a playoff game.
They still haven't won a playoff game. But at least that fan base can at least say, okay, we're possibly on to something. Mm-hmm. We can grab something. And to your point, the United Center, and Cap, don't take this personally, but basically it's Wrigley Field winter. That's all it is now. It's a destination where you go see the statue in the atrium. Yep. You go to the game. Half the people there are tourists, and they just go crazy because they're seeing a good basketball game. And there were a lot of good basketball games this year provided by the Bulls. It was an entertaining style of basketball. I will say that. But at the end of the day, it was exposed, and it has no legs. And that's what they are going to build. They're going to run the same thing back unless there's some major trade that Arturas hasn't seen yet or the league hasn't seen yet.
Okay.
He's asking for patience because he knows this is the same team next year.
Okay, so if the Nuggets decide they're going to move on from Jokic, I don't think they will, but if they did, or more likely, if the Bucks said, all right, Giannis wants out, what would it take to get Giannis Antetokounmpo here? Do they have the pieces to make the move?
No, they don't have it. They don't have enough draft capital. Like OKC can do that because they've got young talent and they've got unbelievable draft capital. They can win it this year and say, we're not staying pat.
You're telling me Kobe White and
Vooch? Because you need Vooch's money. And you want an expiring contract. Here's the more realistic version of what they can do. They could swing for the fences and take someone's ass ache and send Vooch, Kobe, and Javon Carter, all expiring contracts, to New Orleans for Zion. New Orleans can get him off the books. They've got an all-new GM, all that coming in, and they can start all over in free agency and in the draft the next couple of years. That's the smartest move, because otherwise – you're running the same product back next year. You're clearing the decks for 26. But guess what? The days of these epic free agent classes coming, those died 5-6 years ago. Everybody's signing trades now. It's not like these big free agent classes that we're used to seeing where Carmelo Anthony's coming to town and the summer of LeBron and D Wade and Bosh. Those days are gone because everybody just keeps their own, or they sign and trade because they want the player to have control over where he goes. To me, the only way out of this is a big swing at Zion. And if Arturas, who's flipped the training staff over and the athletic staff over and the player development staff over.
Yeah, that's another thing we got to get into.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah, if you feel like, okay, I know my organization better than anyone, and I know they can keep Zion and get his ass in shape and get him serious about basketball, and putting him on a big stage will kind of peer pressure him into that. To me, that's the most logical thing. You have a better chance of Arturas going back to Denver and taking that presidential job, which I asked him at the press conference if he has any interest in that. than Joker coming to the Bulls. There's just too many teams with too many better assets than the Bulls to get a big guy like Giannis and Joker.
All right, let's talk about Peter Patton, who I coached. I love that dude.
Okay.
And I read your article. I've talked to Peter.
Give fans a background of who Peter Patton is.
Peter Patton was hired away from the Dallas Mavericks. He also worked for Tibbs in Minnesota as the player development coach for the Bulls. And I saw Vooch shooting the ball better, especially the first half. I saw Kobe develop. And a lot of the players have been vocal. We love that dude. That guy works his ass off for us. And for whatever reason, Arturas lowballed him, didn't pick up his option, and then said, we're parting ways. What the hell happened?
So Peter. Peter is you asked me, and I'm going to be directly honest with you. And that doesn't go over well in that organization. If you look at the history of the moves that have been made, you're allowed to have an opinion. If it goes against what Arturas believes and the direction he's going, you can express your opinion once. Then they don't want to hear it again. If you continue to tell players, hey, look, I believe in this and this and this, even though your bosses have said, hey, simmer it down with the honesty with the players, because we don't want to hurt their feelings. We don't want P. Will in a corner in puddles. And you go against what Arturas wants, and you're honest and outspoken, your contract's not going to get picked back up. You're going to get fired. Arturas told me it's not a firing. No. First of all, if players wouldn't have contacted me to tell me Peter was done because they were beyond pissed, the Bulls would have never announced it. They didn't. The PR staff wouldn't confirmed it. They wanted this to go away quietly because that's how they operate. I guarantee. Just like Billy Donovan's contract's up after next year, I believe, and Arturas and Mark's contract are up after next year. If they do an extension this summer, we will never hear about it until someone leaks it out. That's just the way they do things, and shame on them, because when you have players and you're saying you're a player-first organization, and you get rid of the guy that the players credit for helping them, whether it's Kobe White, Dalen Terry, you go right down the list. I'd say Vooch is probably the only one that does his own shot work. Peter, helps a little bit, but Vooch is pretty self-sufficient in that part. But everyone else swore by this guy.
All right, so wait a second. I want to go back to something you said, because Guff and I talk about this here in the office all the time. Did you say Arturas' deal is up after next season?
I believe he might have. See, again, we're all clouded in secrecy. We're almost positive as a group. We've talked about this. Billy Donovan's probably got, because that was a secret extension, he's got through next season. That one I'm almost positive. I think Mark Eversley has through next season. The only question we're not sure of is Arturas through next season, or did he have an extra year because he has to be a year longer than the coach and the general manager? That's the unknown. But by I've already reported, KC Johnson's reported it, there are going to be no changes this offseason. They're not going to let guys go into next season lame duck. So I would be very, very positive that there's going to be some extensions for this entire group by ownership, either this summer or next fall.
Oh my God.
It'll be a secret. Trust me.
Well, let me ask you a question, because we've seen the reports this year saying everyone around the league knows dealing with the Bulls is a waste of time. That's paraphrasing.
It's very difficult.
Difficult.
It's very difficult. Yeah.
Right. So paraphrasing, waste of time. It's impossible not to have the natural correlation to the White Sox because of the ownership structure.
Right.
They operate, as you know, who covered the team for a dozen years or whatever it was. They do the same thing. They do these secret extensions. They don't make things public about how many years X, Y, Z. And the rest of and they didn't put until recently any resources into infrastructure like other teams were doing. Other teams have been 5, 8, 10 years of some departments that the White Sox recently created. It took a full bottoming out of one rebuild to get to a full bottom out of another rebuild. The Bulls refused to bottom out probably because they own the building, unlike they do at the rate, and they get the attendance and they get all of the rake from it as well. So they don't have the same pressure there. But if the entire world knows that whatever the Bulls are keeping secret isn't that secret, and the players are voicing their displeasure about a coach that they actually responded to being booted off of the staff. That message is going out not just to the executives, not just to agents, but to players in the league and to free agents around the league as well. How in the hell is there ever going to be an out in this? I honestly don't know.
So to me, the only
hamster wheel.
Yeah, the only attractive thing they have right now, which I've talked to guys and guys around the league, is their style of play. That's the only semi-attraction thing. But at the end of the day, that doesn't carry weight for the elite players. That's like your secondary guys that just want to be in an offense like that might not like their current situation. There are other teams' headaches and stuff like that. These aren't elite players that you're going to get in free agency. You're going to get fringe pieces to build this thing out. And you're going to sell it on, hey, we believe in building 1 through 12, and we see you as a great number 8 guy. So that's your sales pitch. That's a weak-ass sales pitch. Otherwise, your best way out of it, the best way for this team to get out of it, was through the draft and hitting one of these next 2 draft classes, and they refuse to do that. I don't know what 27 brings. I know what 26 brings, and I sure know what 25 brings because I watched the NCAA tournament, and I've talked to people that have coached Cooper Flagg since he was a young kid. And for you not to be willing enough to buy a lottery ticket in that, even though your chances at best, you weren't going to be in the top 3 at 14%, but you could have been at 9. You could have been at 8. Now you've lost 7 percentage points for what? For what?
To get your ass exposed on national TV.
The amazing thing is if you go through Arturas's moves, and I'll give him credit, Bazelis looks like he'll be a good player.
Right.
If you go back to the draft of P. Will, they decided they're going to take a flyer on an injured guy, Lonzo Ball, and pay him $80 million when, by his own words to me, I said, why would you not draft Tyrese Halliburton? Loved Halliburton. Loved him. Had a great workout. He tested well. I swung for the fences on P. Will because I thought athletically he was a grand slam home run if he hits. But why would you put $80 million into an injured point guard when you've got one you love at the top of the draft who's a star?
So you brought up 2 good points, but not even the worst parts of that. They then gave P. Will an extension.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, he is 8. Everyone's like, oh, well, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's $18 million. It's not that bad. But in 2026, if you do re-up Kobe and you redo up Giddey this upcoming year, you're going to be paying $88 million for 3 guys, P. Will, Kobe, and Josh Giddey, and not one of them is an all-star. Now, that may change next year. Maybe one of them takes an all-star jump. I'm not saying that I believe that the ceiling can go up.
Well, that won't be P. Will.
It will not be P. Will. And I'll tell you something right now. This organizationally, they know they've screwed up with the P. Will thing. And basically their message to P. Will in the exit interviews is, this is on you now. This is on – we've switched 3 different personal coaches for you to work with, including Peter Patton. He couldn't get through to you. We've done everything possible. We started you when we know you're not a starter. We've tried to put you on the best offensive players to at least get you engaged defensively. We've done everything we can now. This is now on you on what kind of basketball player you want to be. Are you good with just counting the money and you're satisfied 4 more years of collecting 18, 19 million a year, whatever it is? Or do you want to make something of yourself and set yourself up for that next contract? Because he's young enough where there would be that next big contract. That's the message to him going into this summer. And I'm anxious to see what his response will be, but I'm pretty sure I know how the response is.
Yeah, we've talked about it. He seems like the guy, folding. He's a folding chair. I mean, at some point you would want some accountability. I wouldn't mind a little bit of accountability. We've all been called into the principal's office and said, hey, look in the mirror moment. And we've all had to make that decision. But he's been gifted. He's been re-gifted multiple times from the same organization. And now they're asking him, this is like almost like an NIL deal gone bad in the pros. It's like, hey, we gave you all the money. You didn't really earn it. And I guess it's on you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm more than bothered that there's literally a man should look in the mirror and go, I want to freaking compete. I want this bullshit to stop. I want us to try and contend. Arturas, This plan is not a plan. Like, I'd like to hear, and he just never would do it. I'd like to hear Michael Reinsdorf at a press conference and go, you know what? I fired Arturas Karnisovas. He's a good guy. I paid him his money. Mark Eversley, nice man, out. I am tired of hearing about patience. My fan base doesn't deserve this.
Why is that not?
It's never done.
By the way, I already know what I'm asking, so like I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. Like you look at Matt Ishbia in Phoenix, who's getting pasted right nationally. Stephen A's calling him the worst NBA owner ever because he had multiple All-Stars and Hall of Famers that didn't coexist.
You come through this town at all, Stephen A?
Well, exactly. But at least he stands up in front of a podium and addresses the question, even when the question's like, hey, they're calling you the worst owner in sports. Why do we not see that in Chicago?
Because Jerry Reinsdorf's loyalty to his front office is probably the thickest in any.
Okay, let me ask you a question. My brother is 61 years old, a diehard White Sox fan. And I said to him, it's admirable, Jerry's very loyal to his employees. And he said, you know what? I'm tired of hearing that bullshit. He said, that's great. He said, what about his loyalty to me? I've been a Sox fan since I was born. Is there any level of loyalty to me? Because you asked me, buy my hats, buy my jackets, buy my jerseys, watch my team, go to my games, buy tickets. And most importantly, my brother said, I don't have a lot of time. Guess what? I put my heart into it. You asked me for my heart. I want loyalty to me and my fellow fans.
And I think in a lot of towns that carries weight, but when's the last time you've been here a long, long time, both of you? When's the last time you can recall Jerry Reinsdorf's done something and you go, wow, that was for the fans. He really does care about the fans. I'll help you. 0 since I've been here. And I moved here in the end of 97. That's just how he is. Yeah. There's the only thing he disdains more than the fan base is the media.
Right.
And I mean, I remember when they moved the press box. We used to have the best press box at old I call it USL, whatever it's called now, right behind home plate. And he moved it up to the right field side. And I remember Van Dyke, obviously Van Dyke, famous Dave Van Dyke.
Rest in peace, writer, David.
Right, yeah, was beyond pissed and wanted us to sign a thing. And he asked Jerry, you know, we signed this thing, and why did you move us up here? And he said, the only reason I moved you guys up there is Major League Baseball wouldn't allow me to move you guys behind the scoreboard. That was his response. Gave 2 pisses about us, because I think if he could have put a press box behind the scoreboard in center field so we couldn't even see the play, he would have done it. He has he doesn't like me. He doesn't like the media. That's just the way it is. Michael, I think, is a lot more level-headed, but at the same time, let's look at the Bulls side of this. The Boston Celtics just sold for $6 billion. The Bulls got to be worth $5.5 billion, and number one in attendance. If I'm Michael Reinsdorf and I'm a businessman and I was raised with a dad who has no empathy for a fan base, I'm a businessman first, and business is humming. Business is booming. What's my motivation? Everything's great. And we finished 15-5, and we made it to the play-in, and we got another $1 million for that. And Bucelis could be something. So what's the big picture that he sees? So it's just really sad, because I know next year I'm going to look around the United Center and the sheep will be going bam. They'll be clapping, and it's going to be the same thing, and they're not getting any. Do you know, as a writer for a newspaper right now that's really struggling, do you know what it would do for the newspaper and for the writers in town if all of a sudden we look on the court next year and the 4 players we see are Kobe, Josh Giddey, Bucelis, and Cooper Flagg? You don't think that's exciting for not the entire city, but for everything involved with the Bulls?
Because anybody that hit free agency of substance would go, I'm going there.
I'll be the rim protecting center for this group. Let's go.
Yeah.
And this is what's frustrating. And I already went off about it. Now I'm just doing it as a much more composed version of this. This is what I'm talking about. You have an entire winner of 2 teams that were irrelevant and unseen because they're on a network no one gets. Yep. They weren't on national TV once. They did a side-by-side on ESPN against Milwaukee one time. other than the playing game. For the first time, as long as I've been alive that I can remember, the Bulls had 82 games on an RSN. I worked 25 years at an RSN. There were at least 2 to 4 games that TNT or ESPN were taking exclusively. No one wants this product. Nationally, they're telling you, we don't want it. They took the play-in because they had to. They built the Bulls up, and then the Bulls flopped. They don't want that team. They don't want that team as is. They're telling you they don't want it. And fans locally can't see the product anyway.
And you know what? You know what's even sadder is everything you just said is 100% true. But when you go to like Paris and you go to the game in Brazil, and it is a worldwide brand, and everyone is still wearing that hat, and they will not capitalize and act like a worldwide brand. They will still be a mom and pop store and just continue to kick the can down the road when they could really just be an elite Lakers, Celtics, Bulls, Knicks, boom. Just year in and year out, the product should be top notch. It should be a threat, and it should be on national TV. I should be working on Christmas. Doesn't bother me. I got 3 kids. I love having Christmas off. You want to keep putting shit out there? I'll keep chilling with my kids on Christmas.
You shouldn't be more popular internationally than you are.
Yeah,
in the United States.
My wife and I went Amsterdam, Brussels, Paris. I went to see Springsteen over there. I'm walking around Amsterdam, and I'm like, wow.
It's unbelievable.
It's a lot of Bulls gear over here. Then I go to Brussels. There's more. And Paris, it was the Champs-Élysées has bullshit everywhere.
Yeah.
It's pathetic.
It's bad. What we can look forward to this offseason is not much. Like I said, unless there is this monstrous, we can't handle Zion anymore, we're out of it, we have to blow this thing up, New Orleans. Maybe they hit lottery gold and they can do something that the Bulls can't, and they just say, I mean, take our headache and we'll take all your expiring contracts, because the Bulls do have some attractive expiring contracts.
All right, so hold on a second. Giannis, I watched the video again yesterday. Giannis said, maybe someday I'll play for Chicago. And that
was about like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and he is an investor in some Chicago restaurants. I think he might even be involved with Lou Canellis in the Greek restaurant Avli. I don't know that for sure, but I know he goes to eat there. He likes the Chicago market. So I'm not saying he would, if he went to Horst, the GM in Milwaukee, who just signed an extension today, and said, hey, man, thanks for everything. We're not going to win here right now. I want to go to Chicago. I like the town. I want to live there. That's where I want you to trade me. How does that get done?
I don't think they have the pieces to do it. I mean, they have the pieces to do it, but why would Milwaukee do it? Why would Milwaukee, who's stuck on Dame Lillard's contract, and by the way, Giannis, as much people have liked to build up this Giannis hype every time there's a bad exit, he has never once come out and said, get me out of here.
But I'm saying if he did.
I think there's other teams that have a much easier path to land him that would help Milwaukee. At the end of the day, Milwaukee has to make the deal to benefit them, not just Giannis.
Right.
You know, they'll try getting Giannis to a spot he wants to go, but if you're Milwaukee, who are you taking that you're saying, yeah, that works? I mean, they're headed for a tax problem, so they do have to get off more talent. It's not going to end well for this Milwaukee thing, but I think there's way other better avenues for Milwaukee to get not only ready-made young talent, but also a lot more draft capital. And the Bulls don't have the draft capital.
Can they at least go out and get Dalton Connect? Because the Lakers don't want him.
I've said that. That would be my first call this offseason. It'd be like, hey, Dalton Connect and some other piece you want to throw. We'll send you Vooch. You got one more year of Vooch, another offensive guy. I mean, obviously, Jackson Hayes he's unplayable in this series.
Yep.
You know, Vooch at least gives you a stretch 5 and is coming off one of his best 3-point shooting of his career. Expiring deal, if it doesn't work, you get off of it. That would be the call I would make, is Dalton Connect. Obviously, he's out of the rotation, doesn't want to be there. I mean, that's that's one of the first calls I'd make. I think I said that like a month ago.
Yeah, same here. I wanted him in the draft. I'm glad they got Buzelis. Now go get me Dalton Connect. At least it's another shooter.
Yeah.
To the Bulls.
It'd be interesting to see if they say we've been exposed enough in that Miami game where we can keep Josh or we could keep Kobe, but we can't keep both. We have to fix that back.
They don't have the balls to do that.
No, I don't think they do. And Arturas loves his product way too much. He's like a bad weed dealer.
Do the Bulls just give Giddey a deal without letting him test the market, or do they actually let him test the market to see if they can save some cash?
I tried poking around that. I asked Giddey and I asked Arturas, or somebody asked Arturas. And my question to Giddey is, would you have hurt feelings if they let you go to market and let the market dictate your price? Because, Zach had hurt feelings. Some guys don't. And Josh is very self-aware, and Josh is very in tune with, the economy of things versus his talent. He's very, very good about talking about stuff like that. And he said, to be honest, I haven't thought that far down the road. I understand it's a business, but I have a feeling, knowing Arturas, he's going to say, look, we won this trade, and now I'm going to extend him without letting him go to market and give him his $30 million. Because really, when you look around the finances, and we've talked about this too, the Nets are the only team where he kind of fits their young profile of rebuilding and have the money. How much are they willing to invest in Josh Giddey, though? So if I was the Bulls, I would be like, let's see. Let's play this game of chicken. Because if we could get him at 26, 25 million a year, it might not seem like a lot compared to 30 in the big picture.
But on the margins, it is.
But on the margins, because you can't afford Trey Jones because you gave Javon Carter the player option 3 years ago. I mean, that's $7 million for Javon Carter just to sit there. And he's the ultimate pro. He doesn't complain. He doesn't bitch and moan. But you have to let Trey Jones, a guy you really covet, walk away because you don't have that $9-10 million to give him because Javon Carter's taking 7 of it. So the little millions count.
Are they keeping Herter?
He's got one more year left on his deal. I mean, and he's an attractive piece in a package, possibly because of the expired contract. But all things being equal, I don't have much faith that they're going to move off this crew. I think Arturas, he has not lied to us yet when he says the things that come out of his mouth and leave us shaking our heads. He doesn't really go away from them. And so I think this might be same old. Let's run it back. We finished 15-5. We finished with a good taste in our mouths. We've got our style of play. We're going to add a draft pick, and let's go, because basically all the roster spots are taken besides Trey Jones and Taylor Horton-Tucker, but you have a draft pick coming in. There are just not a lot of roster moves you can make.
The Settlers, that's what they are.
Oh, boy. Well, I've never been happier.
Yeah. So there's your Bulls offseason recap.
We love you, Joe.
Now. Thanks, guys. Love doing this, and it should be a fun summer. I got all kind of ideas to keep this thing going, and some guests and some different things. It might not always be Bulls basketball, but hopefully it will be entertaining.
That's all we're in the entertainment business.
I can't wait until the Bulls land the top 3 pick. I can't wait.
Can you imagine
what if this bastard hits number 1
flag?
If they hit number 1, he's going to be like, I told you so, Joe.
15
I told you so, Joe. I told you so, Joe.
And then they take Ace Bailey.
Yeah, Dylan Harper, we need another guard.
You're the best.
That'd be amazing.
All right, guys. That was fun. Yeah, I mean, shoot. Could you imagine if they hit number 1? That would be something. That would be a game changer for me, for the city, for the franchise, but I don't see it. All right, let's get to the rant. We already touched on this earlier. Cowley Island. The first text I got from a Bulls player that Peter Patton was being, in their words, fired was caught me off guard. I was like, whoa. Then when you find out from other people, yes, it's happening. Look, here's the strange thing in all of this. And here's my rant about this. Day one, Arturas was hired. He brings in Mark Eversley. We got them in a joint press conference. It was during COVID, so obviously it was everything was Zoom. And both of them beat the drum on we have to turn this into a players-first organization. Let's fast forward to last week. The players, to a man, swore by this guy. I've never heard a guy in the last 2 years, a player, come up to me and go, you know what? Peter Patton, the shooting guru that he is, the shooting sensei that he is, I don't like the way he's so honest with me. It hurts my feelings. Not one time has that happened. But the organization felt, Peter, you shoot from the hip a little too much. That's always been your reputation. We let it go for a year. We warned you. But now we can't handle your real talk. So that tells me your front office is soft, doesn't like criticism, doesn't like realness, and is not a collaboration like they pretend to be. And at the end of the day, players first, my ass. It is organization first. It is a dictatorship. And the nice thing is, as a media member, I no longer have to go, is it this guy's fault? Is it this guy's fault? Is it this guy's fault? Nope. This all falls on one person. That's going to be Arturas Karnisovas. If he can't right the ship, he's the man to blame. If this thing turns around and they actually start doing good things, he's the man to credit. That's it. It's pretty simple, cut and dry, clear as day. All right, let's go to the list. The 25 class is taking shape. Obviously, there'll be the combine and all that stuff, the draft class for the NBA. 26. Here's my guys to watch for 26. And basically, these are the 5 guys, because I know Arturas is hell-bent on being competitive, that none of us will have to worry about next season at this time. Number 1, I've changed my number 1. It is now Darren Peterson, who's going to Kansas. And the reason why I changed my number 1, Peterson, this past season, Cameron Boozer and his twin brother, he dismantled them in a game. And then, obviously, the guy that was number 1 previously, AJ DeBonsa, who's going to BYU, he demolished him. So this guy has been on a mission to say, you were number 1, you were highly regarded, I'm going to beat both your asses. Number 1, Peterson. Number 2, AJ DeBonsa. Still, I think he can score at all 3 levels. I think he is a athletic freak. Excited to see what his 1 year at BYU will look like. Number 3, another name I already said, Cameron Boozer. Of the Boozer twins, he is by far the better one. We all know Boozer from Carlos Boozer. Bad guy. Hopefully his kid's a lot better, and he'll be at Duke. Nate Ament. He's climbing. This kid's climbing. Guard, I think he's uncommitted still, but he's obviously going to pick quickly here. And then finally, an overseas guy is Kareem Lopez. If you're into Euros and watching Euros, keep an eye on this kid, another climber. But look, bottom line is 1, 2, and 3 are undisputed. After that, it's kind of like this draft, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A lot of talent, a lot of good picks, a lot of things that can help your organization turn things around. But it's top heavy, 1, 2, and 3. It's another great draft class and one we probably won't have to worry about. Thanks, AK. So that's it this week. It was fun. Love touching base with the crime dog, Cap, the guy that brought me in to do this. Like I said, we got some fun things planned for this summer. It might be video game reviews. It might be story time with Uncle Joe, some Wanya Rebay stories. We're going to have some fun. It might be some guys that have nothing to do with the NBA, but I think are relevant in some of their beliefs. So stay tuned. And until then, I got next.